Hi, everybody. It's Peg Fitzpatrick, and we are here for Behind the Podcast for Remarkable People with Jeffrey Sieh. Jeffrey,
Jeffrey. Wow.
if you're mad, just write Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Wayne. Yeah,
How could you do that,
that's right.
Jeffrey?
I know.
Mr. Kawasaki is not joining us today, so you're going to have us. We'll be talking about this week's podcast, which was a fascinating
It was
topic
very
that we have
interesting.
not covered before. And I love the depth of different guests that we have on the podcast.
Yeah.
I say it's my podcast. It's Guy's podcast, but we've worked
We
on it
work a
since the
lot.
beginning.
We work
I've
a
been
lot on
on
it.
it since the very, very start. So I always feel like it's mine too because I've been producing it for so long, and Jeff's
Mhm.
been with us since it went public, since our first, right?
Yeah.
Since we went live
Yeah.
on our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So everybody, hello and happy Wednesday. Leave a comment and tell us, did you listen to the episode yet? And where did you listen to it? Do you like to go to Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Stitcher, Spotify,
Spotify, Google
Google Play?
Podcast. Yeah.
Is it Google Podcast or
I think it's
Google
Google
Play?
Podcast. I think that's what it is now. It changes. But
Okay.
by the way, folks, if you
Yeah.
haven't done it yet, you can go here.
Simplecast.
Yeah, you can keep mentioning them all. There,
Yep.
if you go to the website, you
Okay.
can easily subscribe to your favorite player. If you hold this up and just
Hmm.
put your phone there, you can actually go right to it and check it out. So we'd love it if you guys would leave a rating
Yeah,
and review because it really does help us out. But I did
it
not see
does.
I did not see this podcast coming, this subject
No.
matter, because it was like what,
Yeah.
and it was fascinating, very fascinating.
Yes.
So
Yes.
today it's all about
So we have a little.
sustainable. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It's about
Yep. Go ahead.
sustainable, living. And I mean, what would you call it, Peg?
Well, it's waste management, really.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and it's really things that I think the person that our guest was Australian, Olympia Yarger is Australian, but it's a global issue. Food waste.
Hmm.
There's huge amounts of waste, especially in America. I read a stat that was like 30 to 40% of our food production gets sent to the landfill, which is horrible. There's not room for this. We've lived in this disposable society, we meaning everybody globally, and we're just
Right.
throwing stuff out and we're killing our planet. So
Yeah.
this guest has a really, really interesting solution for handling waste. So let's throw up our icebreaker
Yes. So
question.
this is interesting. One, are you concerned about waste? So,
Right.
when you're a kid, like I was thinking about this question is like, I, well, you don't care. But now when you're older, you think about your kids and your grandkids and how uh, messy the planet is and how, we
Hmm.
waste, at least in our society. Like if you've ever gone overseas and like gone to India and, Egypt and some other places, how, it's different over there. And,
Hmm.
and they don't tend to waste like we do here in America. And I'm very concerned about waste. I want to teach my kid not to waste. I was that parent who
Which
was like,
kid or both kids?
just one of the
Just
kids.
one.
Yeah, the other one's
50% of
going.
Jeff's kids are going
Yes,
to be on
no,
it.
but that I wanted to, I wanted to make sure that I was a kid, the dad who made them clean their plate. I mean, I
Right.
raised. I don't know if you were raised that way, Peg, but I was. So I always like
Yeah.
you don't waste stuff. So
Right. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of food growing up, so yeah, we didn't waste it either. Um, but the thing is, I think in America
thanks, Matt.
and and maybe I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but you put you do your trash, you put it out, you put it to the road, and it would go. And when we were
Right?
little, there wasn't even recycling.
No.
So you think that you did your part by just getting your trash out, and then where does that go? Nobody knows where that goes. Nobody knows what happens to that. It was just getting shipped off, and now other countries are like, "Hey, we don't want your garbage."
Right.
Hey,
And this
America, you are wasteful.
and
So
this
we have
is
to.
yeah, this is a whole nother subject. But that trash, they're talking about. There's so much microplastics now in the ocean, and there's these huge
Mm-hmm.
floating garbage islands now. That
Right.
it's really scary. So that's a whole
Yeah,
other
the
subject.
ocean
But
is serious. I
but
just read an article the other day that said babies have a lot of microplastic in them because of the water.
yeah, that's Yeah.
So
So
we're
it's,
concerned about waste. Are you guys concerned
yes,
about
we
waste
are concerned about
yet?
waste. So this is so on that same line of thinking is like,
Mhm.
how much food do you throw away a week? This is a interesting question. So
Mhm.
I think we've gotten a lot better with this, especially since the kids are out and we've really kind of
Mhm.
streamlined things. But just like you were saying, Peg, that what was the stat that you had found about how much we throw away as a nation?
Oh, well, foods takes up more space in US landfills than anything else, and globally, we waste about 1.4 billion tons of food every year. But Americans discard more food than any other country, 40 million tons or 30 to 40% of the entire food supply,
That's
which
nuts.
is a lot. And then the other really scary stat I found was, according to the World Wildlife Federation, the production of wasted food in the United States is equivalent to the greenhouse emissions of 37 million cars. If American continues on the same path with food loss, the environmental impact could be huge.
That's
So
nuts.
food waste, we had a refrigerator that was not that old when we moved into the house that we're in now, but it did not work well, and there was like only a small section of the refrigerator that didn't freeze stuff. So if you
Mm,
put celery on the wrong
it would
tray, it
go
froze
bad.
it. So we had so much food waste, and it was really frustrating. I finally was like, we have to get a new fridge because we're wasting a lot of food, and it's not our fault. It's just you have
Hmm.
lettuce and it's bad within a day or something like that. So we now have a new refrigerator, which is totally efficient and amazing. So our food waste has gone way down because things are staying better in the refrigerator.
Right.
I did see another little stat that said that people read the food expiration dates wrong, and that's a big reason
Hmm.
that people in
Throw
the
it
in the United States are
My
getting rid
son's
of
so
stuff. So
paranoid.
research that.
He's like at midnight on the night the milk goes out, he won't drink it. He can't stand it. And I'm like,
He's like,
that's
nope.
not that just well, it's not clumpy. Anyway, so we've
Yeah.
got John Rogers saying the Remarkable People podcast today was awesome. Love me some bugs that eat food waste. So we're going to talk
Isn't
about
that
that.
cool?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was the whole thing about this. And one of the things you're talking about throwing things away. I don't know if you ever worked in
Mhm.
like a food kitchen, or a lot of times they'll get like not bad, but like yesterday's food to serve, and you take it
Right.
and you think about how much, and that's just like a small percentage of those restaurants, give
Mhm.
that away. But there's a lot of it, and you think about just
Mhm.
one those, and then compounded from across the nation. There's a lot of stuff we throw away
Right. What is
every
that?
day.
Harvest America?
Yeah,
There's some company that started that they are connecting, so the food doesn't get thrown out
yeah.
and it gets given to people. So
So in that same line, what how many of you guys have tried plant-based meat substitute? That's been, this past year it's kind of been in the news. Didn't Impossible Meat go public or something like that?
yeah, I
That was a
think
big deal.
so. Yeah.
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 And Wendy's or Burger King, I can't remember which one, has the Impossible Burger. Um,
Burger King.
Burger King. In fact, a lot of so I do home chef. Is like what I do is I get home stuff in. That's one of the ways we cut down. Is like we don't have any waste. We have enough for
Mhm.
my wife and I cook it. We eat it. It's done. So we don't have
Right.
any waste. But they have a for one of their meat options, you can substitute Impossible Meat. So it's starting to become everywhere. So have you
Mhm.
tried any of the plant based meat substitutes? Peg, have you done it?
I have. I actually like some. There's some good ones. One of our daughters was vegetarian for
Mm-hmm.
quite a while, so we did a lot of those things, and I tested different kinds. I've done like the Morning Star little
Oh yeah, yeah,
burgers.
we've had those.
Sometimes we have the veggie patties.
Mm-hmm.
There's a brand called like Corn. It's
Yep.
QUORN.
Yep.
They make like a meat crumble that is very good because sometimes they're just weird if you try to make like
Right. Right.
something with it. Like the texture is weird or
Yes. Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
but that one is very good. So you just have to like play around. There are so many options now, and Aldi's and Whole Foods,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a co-op here, which is kind of like it's like
Right.
a local co-op, and they have a lot of good choices. So it's a lot easier to find plant-based meat substitutes, and that is another way that you can help the planet is to not eat meat every day,
Mm.
which
I
is a
love
tough
me
one
some
for
meat.
some
I
people.
know.
Just in Texas, Texas
I know.
is like, nope, we need meat
We
twice a
love meat.
day.
Well, a lot there is. I mean, it's really surprising. You can find plant-based substitutes in all the stores. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like Texas is the only people without it. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who do eat that. So John says he has eaten it and it's great. So he
Yes.
likes it. So thanks, John, for over on YouTube watching us over there and saying how much you like it.
Yeah.
That leads right into what we're going to be talking about the whole podcast today. If you haven't checked out the podcast, you can find out more about that at remarkablepeople.com. So make sure you guys head over there. And if you haven't subscribed or downloaded it, it's right there ready for you. The transcript's there. It looks beautiful. Peg has got a new little player.
It's not on this post, but
it's not,
it is going to
but
be.
it's coming. It's still beautiful, no matter what's happening. But this is one of the things about this episode is that using bugs as a food substitute, but also taking care of waste. And so this is the question. Have you ever eaten bugs, and would you? So, have you ever eaten bugs? I think we all have. What do they say? Like every year we eat like 10 spiders while we're sleeping or something. They crawl in our mouth. So
Does it count if you ate one of the things in Mexico that came in
the tequila? No, that's cheating. So I have, I have. There's I can't remember what museum it is, but they even had like a dispenser, like a snack machine that would serve bugs in a thing, and it was like barbecued crickets, and I ate a box of those. They weren't bad.
And what did it taste like? Chicken?
Like barbecue. Yeah, I mean it wasn't bad. It was crunchy. So and they talk a lot about this on the podcast about the ick factor. So, getting over the ick factor. And it's so funny because I don't know if you've seen the movie, Ice Piercer it's got Chris Evans and it's a science fiction thing. It's a train that circles the globe and it's because of this cataclysm. And anyway, there's the poor people in the back and the rich people are up front and they have a revolt. But anyway, they eat these
Titanic on a train.
they eat these protein bars and they break into the next car where all the protein bars are being made and they're eating them. They're like, oh, it's still warm. And Chris Evans lifts open the top of it and looks down and it's all bugs and they're grinding up bugs to make this. And he's like, ugh. And so there's a built-in ick factor, but they are they're so green. I mean, how much you can grow them, and how much protein they put out. So, Peg, would you eat bugs?
I don't know. I do remember in geography, like watching different culture things where they would like cook the grubs and things, and they were like, they would serve them to me. You can be like, here's, so in different parts of the world, people eat this kind of thing, and it's no big deal at all. And in America, there's nothing that's in our food repertoire that. If you could put bugs with ranch dressing, we'd probably be all over
or barbecue sauce here in Texas.
Yeah, barbecue sauce or ranch dressing, sure.
Well, that's like, and even Guy brings it up in the podcast, is that we eat escargot and we think that's the cells, and that's snails. In East Texas we eat crawfish, which are pretty much cockroaches that live in the creeks. Water cockroaches.
They're baby lobsters.
Yeah, exactly. But those are cockroaches. Lobsters are pretty much ocean cockroaches.
Yeah, back when the Pilgrims landed, lobsters were all over the beach, and they were like these land spiders, and they thought they were like so plentiful. At first they didn't want to eat them because they were like, those are gross. But then somebody had the idea to
it was probably your ancestors.
Butter on there.
It's probably your ancestors because you came across. So we've got some people who are chiming in saying, Joseph goes, no bugs to eat, please. He is not a fan of the bugs. But
what if it was the only thing there was to eat? Would you eat it if you could make this?
Of course
burger,
you would.
If you would make a burger out of bugs and
that's coming.
And an egg.
That's coming. They're going to make we made Impossible Meat. We're going to make an Impossible Bug Burger or something like that, and it'll be fine. And the thing is, it's so sustainable. I think it's all in your mind because you think about what other cultures eat and then what they think is gross that we eat. It's just in the mind.
Cultural. It is cultural. I mean, in some other countries, they eat like all of the chicken. They eat like all the parts of all the things. And in our country, we're just like, oh, we like the white.
We don't even know how the chicken gets there. I mean,
no.
I still remember, grandma butchering chickens, to eat. And I'm like,
not remember.
You don't remember that? Your grandma?
My grandma did not know.
Okay. But I mean, there's also like all this stuff we have. Like they didn't have sliced cheese. I just went blurry. They didn't have sliced cheese when we were kids. I mean, Well, when we were, I don't know if we were
We didn't
kids or
have
not.
craft slices.
Well,
We just had to get. We had Velveeta, and we had to use that big, huge
I
slicer.
love Velveeta, so don't get me started. So yeah,
Velveeta is expensive. Have you looked at that lately? It's
I
like
haven't.
twenty
No,
dollars for a thing of Velveeta. You're
that's
like,
funny.
do I really
So,
want
so
Velveeta?
you really haven't answered the questions if you would eat bugs. It would have to be in like
So
it wouldn't be like you wouldn't pick up a cricket and eat it, but it'd have to be like
I
ground
probably
up,
would try it if it was like the kind of thing in a museum where it was like,
right?
you want to try the freeze dried air,
Right,
astronaut ice
right.
cream
Here's
and a
some crickets
cricket.
too.
I would
Yeah,
be like, sure,
wash it down with some
sure.
astronaut ice cream. Yeah. So,
But they do have a lot of protein. In other cultures, they do, it is part of what they eat. So
right.
I'm sure our ancestors did.
Yeah, so crickets and the crunchy things I think would be easier for me than what we're talking about on this show, which is maggots. And if you want to know why on earth are Jeff and Peg talking about eating bugs on this show, it's because it's just a
God made
fascinating.
us.
This is a fascinating episode. You could, if you would have said, Jeff, think of a really strange title or a topic that Guy would talk about. I never would have picked this. So
Yeah,
it is
it's a
very
it's a really
fascinating.
cool
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say at the beginning of it, mostly we're talking about this bugs and the sustainable portions, but Olympia is a Marine family. Her
Right.
husband was in the Marines, and probably the first half of the show is about what it's like being a military family, what it was like for her family, and post traumatic stress disorder, which her husband
Hmm.
has. So it's also very interesting if you're
Right.
interested in that topic. She's a very interesting person. She's Australian, but her husband obviously is from America.
Yeah. So I mean, it's yeah. It was just a fascinating episode. So
Yeah.
that goes. So make sure you go to remarkablepeople.com, and if you need some help, you can just hold up your handy dandy smartphone, and there you go, the QR code that will take you right to where
Yeah.
you need to be. Um,
Or you could do my favorite thing and you can say, "Hey Siri, play Guy Kawasaki's last podcast episode." My
and I'm
my
so
phone's like,
glad that I have headphones in. So there you go.
The latest episode of Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People.
Why is he talking
"Oh,
as
it
a with an
does.
accent?
My Siri is a British man."
Oh, okay, very cool. I was like, does Rich know? Anyway, so
Yes, he does.
this
He's always like,
is
"Who is that?"
so this leads into the another thing, because it's not just, she just didn't talk about eating bugs and how great that is for the environment and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but we talked about this at the beginning, how much food we threw away and how much restaurants throw away. One of the things that she talks about is how her company, she's developed this robotic thing using the maggots of black soldier fly. Is that correct?
Yep.
And it actually, they have this really cool box, and it goes through and it eats all this waste, and they come, and it's like they don't have to do pickup every day like trash pickup. It's like once a week or every other day or something, and it cuts down costs for them. It's all this stuff. So here's the question: would you have a colony of maggots on your street if it would eat your garbage?
It's controlled maggots. So it would be in a special, it's
It'd
a
be in a
really
box.
cool process.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
it
you
wouldn't
could just
bother you.
go dump it. No, not if it was like a high tech thing where you just kind of like open it up and put your stuff in and
Yeah, I think it almost sounds like a trash compactor, and it's got robotic stuff in. They have to just come in and replace the maggots, and the maggots, they were saying, can be used as a food source. Now, one of the things they did talk at length about is like different, if like if your maggots are eating, medical waste, you're not wanting to eat those maggots. There's different there's different grades of what you want to have food
so it's
grade
like
maggots.
sushi.
It's almost, well, it is. It's like it's like what they do for grading, organic and all that kind of stuff. So you want to have
Yeah.
green. If you're going to eat the maggots, you got to have they have to eat something that's good for them as well. That's not toxic to humans. But this can take away a lot of junk, a lot of waste that we use is these maggots, and you can use them. I think she even said for feed and all sorts of other things you could use them for. So, um,
So
I
what do
think
you
it's
think? Would you
genius.
use that? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool, right?
I'm actually fascinated by this after I started
Yeah.
going down this rabbit hole, because it makes a lot of sense.
The thing is, we have to have new ideas that are sustainable. We can't do the same old thing, like just dump it in the garbage and not worry if we recycled or what we're doing, or
Hmm.
we can't just keep doing the same thing in so many different areas, whether it's fashion or food or waste or electric cars or
Right.
solar. There's so many different ways that globally we need to just step it up. And this is a cool idea. And hopefully there's going to be more ideas like this. I mean, we need innovative thinkers that are coming up with different solutions for
Hmm.
these crazy problems that we have ignored for so long because we didn't even know it was a problem.
And there's a lot of cool stuff about this, about
Mhm.
how much it actually takes away bad stuff and replaces it with good stuff. I mean, this is,
Yep.
she was even talking about on some of the other ones that, it takes more energy to actually be renewable, and that's not what you want. But this is a process that actually is clean, and finding those
Right.
processes that don't sound good, like, but you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're
Right.
actually doing a net benefit for the environment and what's good and all stuff. So, yeah, I
Mhm.
think I would love it. I think as soon as they have it, so I can have it in my house where I could just the maggot people would come once a month, and I could but I just think it's cool. I just think anything that's like off the grid and you taking take care of stuff, I think
Yeah.
is really really cool.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
leaving, then you have less of it, lowers your carbon footprint.
yeah, and I want a lower footprint. So, um, this is the other question when we're talking about bugs and what to eat and the ick factor. So, would you eat meat that is grown in a lab? Not Impossible Burger, not that, but like meat
Mm.
that is grown, like it never lived, but they're able to grow it. Like there's, I think they even have a chicken breast thing or that they grew.
Well, probably we'll all be eating that in the future,
So
right?
I
I
maybe
mean,
I
if you're Matt Damon, right, and you're
this
on Mars and you're the only guy, you gotta do
potatoes.
what you gotta
Gotta
do.
eat potatoes. Yeah.
Right.
So this is this. I would rather eat insects than eat meat grown in a lab. I don't know why, because that just still doesn't sound natural to me. Insects are natural. There's just the ick factor.
A lot of what you eat is manufactured now.
I know, but I just something about meat that's grown is just weird to me. I would rather eat
Yeah.
a cricket,
Cricket
churro,
burger,
cricket churro
cricket churro.
than than
Mm.
than meat that's grown. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know why. If that's a mental
Yeah, it
thing,
seems a little way too manufactured, but, I think if we keep doing what we're doing to our planet, there's gonna be a lot of this stuff that's just not gonna be available anymore, like
right?
honey.
Yeah.
Or, and if the bee population keeps dwindling,
Then we're gonna be in a
um,
pickle. I mean, they do
yeah,
more
because
than just make
we're
honey.
not gonna have, yeah, it's not just honey, it's all the plants that need to
Crops.
be
Yeah.
pollinated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think these other solutions are gonna be, and also weather. I mean, our weather's so crazy now that it's affecting a lot of growing. Like, the local farms around here lost all their watermelons and melons
Because of the cold.
because too much rain.
Oh. Okay.
They got, like, too much rain and like, they got moldy.
Yeah. So, if this stuff interests you, and it should, make sure you go to remarkablepeople.com because
Mhm.
it's really fascinating. It'll get your head thinking. It got mind thinking
Yeah,
about, what we can do, even those little. And I think what it's going to be is like, it's going to come to the point where what will we give up and be okay with it as a society? Like,
right.
everyone's now is like, you can't take my steak from me. But if we could take and make a replacement steak and, you know, maybe have steak once a year on my birthday, on everybody's birthday,
On Jeff's
and then
day.
cricket steaks other than that if it tastes the same. I mean, I think that could happen. So, but it's going to take all
Mhm.
of us, I think, to make those choices and changes
Right,
to do it.
right.
So,
So, before we go though, I did wanna mention last week we talked about having a community and we talked
oh
about
yeah,
some different ideas. We talked about Facebook and other things, and we do have a new community that we're starting for remarkable people on an app called Circle. It's either desktop or an app. So after the show, I'm going to put a link in the comments on all the different platforms that we're streaming, and you guys can join this community. And Guy will be in there, Jeff will be in there, and I will be in there, and hopefully you will be in there too.
yes.
So
So
we're not sure what we're going to do there, what we're going to have yet, but we're definitely going to be, sharing some more different behind the scenes things, share the
Mm-hmm.
podcast. It's
It's
just a way to connect a little bit deeper with
And
the
it's good to have a
community.
backup plan because, as we know, this week certain things went down, and if that
A
would have
lot
been
of
on
things
that
to do.
day, it would have been hard. So
Right.
that's what we're just
Right.
trying. But this is a great way. Like if you have an idea for remarkable people, this is the place that would be
Yep.
great to put it in there. If you
Best
have a question,
ideas.
like, hey,
Yep.
I remember somebody talked about this, but I can't remember what episode. That's a great question to ask. If you're
Mhm.
struggling with, I need to teach my mom how to download a podcast. Well, we're there to help. So we make sure you guys go to remarkablepeople.com and subscribe and
Yep. And
get
then you'll have the link for Circle, which is
yeah.
where community will be. So we'll be sharing more about that, and we'll share the link to that. But it would be great if you guys joined
And what
because
would
we
you
made it
want?
for
What
you.
would you want the community to look like? We are still putting
Yeah.
this together. We would love
Mhm.
to know what would make the community the best it could be for you. So let us know
Mhm.
in the comments. So,
It's very Google Plus looking, I have to say, as
oh,
far as
well,
like
it's
how
called the
you set the
circle. So,
community up. I know. I was
so
like,
yeah,
is that Google Plus or is it the Circle the movie, which would be kind of a negative
the circle
choice?
of life. So that's what we're talking about.
I
Bugs,
love the Circle of
Bugs life.
Life.
So anyway,
Bug's Life. We should have called that episode the Bug's
that's
Life.
right. Make sure you guys go check this out because it really is
Mhm.
fascinating. It's even
Yeah.
if you don't or I mean, I would love for you guys to try to poke holes in it and let us know, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Why wouldn't it
Mhm.
work? Would you have bugs on your block if it was taking care of waste? So let us know in the comments because we'd love to know. And make
Yeah.
sure you go to remarkablepeople.com and subscribe, follow all
Yeah.
the good stuff. And we will see you next week. See you guys.
We will.
Bye.
Bye.